So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope this information is helpful somehow, and it it's a little bit scary, but we are going to run some numbers, and you know um, you may need to rethink a lot of things after you watch this video. So, having said all of that, grab a tea or a chamomile. Maybe a coffee will be too strong for this one. But if you wanted to share a coffee with me, you can do that in the link down below. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. As you know, my channel right now isn't this popular or whatever. Basically, because I think I might be creating a new trend in the type of videos that I do, in the sense that my videos are not exactly about preppers. They are also not exactly about education, and they are not exactly about survivalism or anything like that. And so this is one of those videos that will fall into probably a lot of categories, and at the same time neither will work entirely. And so my channel is kind of like that. That's why, once I reach 500 subscribers, I think that I can change the name of the channel. So I'm thinking about calling it Emologic, or dealing with Emologics, or dealing with ETIs. I don't know. I mean, I even had to create that term, ETIs, as in everyday threats and inconveniences. Because you are going to be facing things that are, like I said, if you were playing a video game, you are going to go to the video game number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up to the 10. And quite frankly, if you are playing a video game for hard times and things like that, by the time you reach level 7 out of the 10, you probably went out. As in, you're probably going to leave the country or just move, or you are probably going to be so different that the way that you were before, that you are not going to be able to recognize yourself. That is, if you are able to make it up to the level 10. If you decide to stay in your country after that, I can tell you that you will be playing a new game, and it will be this one is like an entirely different thing that you will not be able to compare to the original game that you started in level 1. Now, prepping, survivalism, and all of them focus on changing from level 1 to level 2, or level 2 to level 3, and things like that. Meaning, other channels will probably cover basics like food, water, clothing, and stuff like that. But when you are actually experiencing, um, a lot of hyperinflation, a lot of changes, and a lot of other things, you are actually going to be able to jump to sub levels of the games. The sub levels are going to be the decisions that you have to make about where are you going to go first, and the teams that you're going to have to make, and the time that you're going to have to spend trying to get certain resources, because in the game you are thinking that everything is going to be just set up, and it's not like that. So sub levels of the games will be you standing in lines for weeks, you trying to find things that are just everyday use or whatever, and then you can't have them. You figuring things out with the people around you, which seem to be completely lost, just like probably you are. And it's going to be in some levels of these sub levels, some of them, they might be a loop, as in once you are there, you are not getting out of there. And right now, I organize this channel. I have asked people to comment in the comment section, to tell me what they think that I can do to improve the content and to improve the search engine or whatever it is. Because I'm a teacher, and teachers usually have a way of doing things that is entirely different from everybody else. Everybody else might be running, a teacher might be planning on how to get out of there, well, by safely getting everyone. Teachers might be taking into consideration, the strength and the weaknesses of certain people that they are around because they know their students. So it's kind of like that. So I understand mostly teens and adults because I used to teach high schoolers and university students, and so I don't deal with kids a lot, quite frankly. Dealing with kids is a whole new level of teaching. It requires more strength in your emotional level. And anyway, so having said all of that, the fact that this video is not going to be maybe what you expect, then let me start by telling you that it's a combination of several things. So number one, it's a combination of kids and social media, which I have mentioned before. This is a reproduction list, as in a playlist or series, as you want to call it, that I started a long time ago, and it was supposed to be about the problems that the generations that were born after the 2010 will be facing. After the generation of, if you were born after the 2010 or around that area, you are into a new territory of everything. And I do mean everything. You see, every time that a generation is born, they are stepping into something that is stable. And that is because the older people, meaning the grandparents, the great grandparents, and other people that are around that area, at that area in time, they were able to pass on genes to you that were very concise about how to understand life, how to understand processes, and how to understand society, and how to understand a lot of things. And each generation is supposed to get smarter, and each generation is also supposed to be guided by at least 3 generations. So if you were born, you need the guidance of your parents, your grandparents, and then the third generation will be everyone else that is around you that happens to be more than 21 years old. So this makes it stable for a lot of emotional growth, and it also makes it stable for economical times and everything else. If your parents went through a hard time, they will teach you a lot of things, but they will also be in the loop of hard times, which means that they will make it better so that you don't have to go through a hard time, but at the same time, in your mind, you are still struggling with hard times, even though that right now it's over. Each generation will have a struggle with something, but the next generation will carry kind of like the echoes of that generation. However, if you were born after 2010, or you have kids that are around that time, they were born around that area or that time or whatever, or up to now, obviously, then I'm sorry, but no kid from that time, no, obviously right now they are not kids, they are probably teens. They are not going to have any kind of stability. And this stability, meaning the connection that we have with life, has been severed, has been cut. What does that mean? Well, you see, when let's say your grandfather. If your grandfather was, your grandfather or your grandmother were alive, they will tell you that when they were growing up, there was no such a thing as being bored. And then you crush that against somebody who is from this time, and they will tell you that they are the definition of boredom. And they don't understand how their grandparents didn't get bored at all. So this is the first thing that you need to understand, because this means that the grandparents and the parents, probably if they are, old enough, they were able to connect to life, because life has never been bored. Life has over 8 billion, and I'm not joking about that one, 8 billion things that are happening in every single second. 8 billion possibilities, 8 billion realities happening all at once. Now, if you have 8 billion choices, how can you think or believe or even feel that is boring? I mean, if you haven't experienced, I don't think anybody can experience, not even, like I said, not even 1% out of those 8 billion choices. So, obviously, there is a big immunological problem right there, because your energy cannot access the energy from life, which is offering 8 billion choices. Now, your mind can only connect to, maybe, like I said, in most of my videos I have mentioned that your mind will be probably focusing on 1 or 2 or maybe 10 realities at once, as in, you can see certain things from the past or the future and stuff like that. But that is around 10 out of 8 billion. And most of the times we only focus on 2. As in, you're thinking, okay, do I cross or do I not cross? That is 2 choices instead of 8 billion choices. So anyway, I get interrupted all the time, like I say. So I was talking to you about you crossing the street. Let's say that you are with your kid and you are going to cross the street. So you have the choice. You cross the street or you don't cross the street. That is your mind telling you that those are the 2 choices. But in reality, there are, like I said, 8 billion things that are happening at once. What happens if your kid decides to not cross the street, but instead your kid, decides to stop and just look at the dog that is, staring at you, and there is a stray dog that is staring at you, and, and your kid is just looking at the dog. And so now your kid is stopping you. Or what happens if your kid is decides to follow a cat, and then your kid accidentally loses your hand out of you, and then you have to run to try to get the kid from crossing without your permission, and stuff like that. There are, like I said, 8 billion things that are happening all around you, but your mind will focus on the things that it already knows, as in the patterns that have been formed in the past, and the 2 choices that you have in front. It will not focus on anything else. So anyway, I'm not telling you that you should focus on the 8 billion things that are around you, because quite frankly it will be impossible. For example, if there is a bird that is coming near your way and is going to poop on your suit, that is something that you cannot, foresee. But and it is in the freaking bird thing. And by the way, that will probably happen exactly when you are the most in a hurry, and when you say something like, I can't miss this meeting for whatever reason. Yeah, then the bird shows up to tell you that, yeah, the universe has 8 billion ways of doing things. You are not imposing your way on the universe, So, yeah, so it's kind of like weird. So Why is all of this important? Well, the reason for me saying all of this is kind of simple. If you can only connect with the two choices that are in your head, then you're missing out on life. So what does that mean? It means that the more that you are in your head, the less that you are going to be able to connect with life. It also means that you are always going to be in a particular loop. So think about you going to a movie and you are playing the same movie every single second forever, for years. You wake up, you you wear the same thing, you go to the work, and then you just go to your work, and then you go home, you eat, something, and then you fall asleep, and then you wake up, and then you do the same thing forever. So that is what several of our generations, like in the past 5 generations, that was kind of like, the norm. Everybody did the same thing so that they can earn some money, so that they can go on vacations or do a lot of things, and it was okay because it was kind of like a dream. However, that loop is entirely different for the kids that are born after 2010, because the loop isn't about our job. The loop is whatever happens in social media or whatever happens in the computer. And that means that whatever happens in the computer, for them, it happens at the same time that it happens live. So what does that mean? It means that the 8 billion possibilities that were outside of your head, because like I said, people, you are crossing the street and you have 2 choices. But life will show you that there are 8 billion choices. But right now, if all you have is the computer in front of you, then the 8 billion things that can happen just are practically 0. Because you are stuck into the computer. And the 8 billion possibilities of life will happen inside that computer thing. So let me explain this one. Generations ago, your grandparents, if they wanted to, see let's say that they wanted to see a painting, or they wanted to see a particular movie, they needed to get to a transportation so that they could get to a museum. They had to get money so that they can pay for the entrance, so that they could go to the museum and see this thing. And then, they had to do it in a particular time, and they had to do it probably in a group, and it will be, something that it has to be planned with money. And it will be impossible to do it if this museum is in another country. So, for example, let's say that I want to see the Mona Lisa, and I am in Venezuela. I will never be, if I was in my grandparents' time, the only way for me to go and see the Mona Lisa was me getting into a plane, and that takes time, money, and takes planning, and it takes a lot of things so that I can get to see the Mona Lisa. See all the efforts that I had to put, and see all the choices that I had to make, and see all the planning and all the things that had to happen so that I can go from Venezuela to Paris so that I can see that thing. I will probably also need, my passports, and I will probably need, other things. However, a kid right now who is 6 years old can be in Nairobi, in Africa, for all I know. And if he has access to a phone, he can just turn on the screen and he can see the Mona Lisa. He can also, probably read several reviews on what this painting is about. And he can even probably take a 3D tour for the museum so that he can see that thing. He didn't have to plan, he didn't have to connect with other people, he didn't have to go and find documentation, he didn't have to do anything. Basically, everything is at his fingertips. If he wants to jump from this minute I want to see the Mona Lisa, next minute I just want to see, somebody taking a picture. Next time they say, oh no, I just want to see funny cats, or right now I just want to do this or do that. They will do it, everything, online. And if you can do everything, and I do mean everything, online, then where is life? Where are your 8 billion choices? They are all into the computer. So, again, why will somebody go and, read a book and dream about that book or anything like that when you can just download the review for the book? You can do, or you can watch a video that says the resume of the whole book in 5 minutes. So you just took the pleasure out of life. You took the emotional connection that all of us have with life out of the equation. You took the possibility of dreaming, because everything that you can dream is already made online. And if it's not, then you can create it yourself, and then, and then what? This dream is online. This dream is part of reality because it is part of our creation. However, it is not life. Life still happens outside. Life still happens, everywhere. But now that you just lost that connection, then how are you going to get it back? What does that mean? Well, it means that you didn't have the connection because, when you grew up, everything was online for you. There was nothing that you could touch, do, scream, chair, or do anything with other kids and stuff like that. You were bored. And now you are having all the adult things, but your mind is handling 8 billion choices at once. Let me explain this one. Your mind, you compare two kids, one that is 10 years old in the 19th century or the 20th century, in the early beginning, and you compare it with a 10-year-old right now. The first 10-year-old probably can tell you a lot about experiencing in life. But the second one will always tell you, oh yeah, I know that one. That one is in the internet, or they will use the search engine and whatever, and they will find it. And then you can ask them about anything, and they already know everything. But they have no purpose. They have no curiosity. They have no way of learning from life, because they are learning from things that are already made by us. It's not the same, because whatever we create online is made based upon only two choices that our mind is making. It doesn't involve the other 8 billion things that were happening outside, because the internet is an elemental that we created. It's an elemental that we created. So it's not life. It's just one elemental. So what happens to the other elementals that you are supposed to know and you're supposed to handle? And what happens to your connection to your inner self? And what happens when now you close your eyes and now you're not 10 but you are 20 and you now are in a jungle where other kids like you that do not know anything about real life are competing with you, and they are all competing online. And by the way, this elemental called internet, it's fake. I mean, it can feel real, it can help us, but it is a tool. It's a fake thing. You can put a picture in there, but you know, you can alter it, you can edit. It's not real. What is real is the connection that you might be able to do with other things. And even if you think that your job is real and your things are real, yeah, those are accessories to life. Because like I said, they are just one tiny little thing, one tiny, puzzle piece compared to the other 8 billion puzzle pieces that are together. Now, this ability that we have, meaning people that were born before, 2010, people that were able to understand that you need to go outside, you can have friends, you talk to people, you needed to memorize phone numbers because there is no such a thing as you telling your cell phone the name of somebody and then they calling it and stuff like that. So what does that mean for the kids that are born after that? That means that they have no stability, they have no way of connecting to the 8 billion possibilities that life has to offer, but rather they will only connect to the 8 billion things that we created. So I have a question. Who do you think is better creator of the world? Nature, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, or us? And second question, if we, tell kids and we show kids that there are, 8 billion things that they can have, like all kinds of information, and they don't have to work for it and they don't have to do anything and they can have everything, then second question that comes with that, statement is, what do you want to live for? I mean, what is the purpose of you in life if you cannot connect with life? And what is the purpose of being here if all you are is a consumer of an elemental that other people, as in adults, have created? And so I have other question. How do you keep up with all the pressure of being perfect in this life? Because, long time ago, like our grandparents, they used to sleep. They used to just go to bed, they give you hopefully you had enough resources, and then they give you a warm cup of milk or something, and then they told you to go to sleep, and probably your mother sang to you or something like that, like in the movies, and and you actually slept and all of that. But elementals don't sleep. So the internet doesn't sleep. So while you are sleeping, somebody else is posting, that they are working, they are going to a party, they are doing other stuff. So you are feeling that you are missing out. You are also probably comparing to other people. Now, this will affect more women than men. Men will be comparing to each other, but they will do it differently than women. Women will compare their bodies to whoever their favorite star or whatever is, and then, women will have a self-hatred and self-image things, and women are going to be very, very, very affected by this. And in fact, 8 out of 10 women who are right now, into the situation, if you ask them in the statistics and everything, is between 7 and 8, depending upon the place, out of 10 women that feel incredible anxious to the point of taking pills to just breathe because they need to be perfect, like their friend or like their sister or like their aunt or like the the super cool star that is just posting 24 pictures per minute or something like that, and you don't know how they do it. You don't know how other people can do all these things and you cannot do anything. You see, like I said, when other kids were growing up and our grandparents were growing up, they were not comparing to other kids. They were just playing with each other, and they were cooperating, and sometimes they were fighting, and they were running and experiencing, and they were fascinated by bugs and the things, and then they didn't care about anything, but they were learning everything, and at the same time they were connected with life. But now is the opposite. Now every kid has access to 8 billion possibilities of information, which is just information, but they have no way of handling it. And so the trend on suicide and the trend on women going into mental hospitals is alarming. So I have a daughter, and yeah, it's different when you have a boy. I have friends who have boys and they are concerned about other things. I have a daughter. I have to look out for the trends, which is that women will be more perfectionists. They will try to accomplish more, and they will also compare their bodies to other people's bodies and stuff like that, which means that they are more vulnerable and they are more emotionally mature, but at the same time they are more immature in other things that men are not, and it's bad. I mean, the statistic says that if when my daughter is 20 years old right now, she has 8 out of 10, that's 4 out of 5 chances of having to use medication just to be me, just to keep up with with cleaning, cooking, and doing a job, and then life. So I have a question: what happens if there is no medication? Oh, and by the way, you should see the statistics on boys. The statistics on boys is not taking medication. The boys are taking their own lives more than girls are. Because you see, girls look at suicide differently. They might be thinking, in fact, even when they are committing suicide, it's different. Men, they might use a gun, they might use a lot of things, and they don't care. But women will probably use poison. It was there. I read a comment from the psychiatric things, that says that the reason why women will think about this thing and they will probably not go through it as men will do it is because women will think about the mess that they're going to make. So they will be kind of like, yeah, but if I take a shot at myself, I'm going to have to, somebody's going to have to clean it. So that's why they will not go to go suicide the same way that men will do it. They will probably want to do less mess, but at the same time they will not probably do it because they have, like I said, more emotional maturity, which means that they will probably just want to take medication forever, which is I'm kind of like, right. So how do we deal with this? The answer is we gotta figure out how our grandparents or how our parents connected to life, and then we, the adults, need to connect to life. And then as we connect to life, we need to involve our kids so that they can connect to life through us. Here is why. Because you can't connect to life without having someone teaching you. So that means that this ability to connect to life, it's taught. It's something that is not instinct. The reason why it's not instinct is because although we are living beings, we are not animals. We might be biological beings, but we are not animals. We have choices. And if you're forcing someone to do connections and stuff like that, they might go, like I said, and take the easy way out. And they can also create violence towards other people for you trying to impose things on them. So we are not animals. We are different. And we have choices. And when we have choices, this means that we need to teach ourselves, because we are adults. We have the ability to discern certain things that kids do not. And then we need to figure out a way in which we learned that, and then we need to use that to connect to the kids, and then the kids will probably be able to do it with other kids, and at the same time they will do it. Now, there is a breaking point, meaning let's say that you have 1,000 families that are in a community, and only one family is starting to teach their kids about life. So this kid will teach other kids, and then this thing will spread among the kids, and then let's say that there are 20 kids who are teaching other kids of how to deal with life, and then there will be 3 or 4 adults that will be able to do this because the kids are teaching them and they are actually willing to listen and stuff like that. Now, the breaking point will be when there are over 100 families or 100 kids that have taught their families and the adults, meaning 100 adults and 100 kids that have done this, and all of a sudden this has been proven. There is like a quantum breaking point or something, and then everyone in the community will be able to reconnect with life, meaning the severed artery or the severed connection to life will be reestablished for that community. And a few weeks later, that connection from that community will spread nationally. And then from that nation thing will happen to the globe, meaning everyone in the planet will be able to accomplish the same thing, despite you being in Africa or Venezuela or Japan or the US. There is like a quantum conscious that happens to be within us humans. So all the adults that are right now meditating and doing a lot of things are helping the generations of adults. They are not necessarily impulsing or helping out the generation of the kids, because we have a gap. The gap is the fact that all the generations that are from 2010 from behind, we don't have we don't deal with so much information. But the kids that are born from 2010, they deal with all information. Try to imagine you being born at the age of 5, and you have the knowledge of 25 books per minute. It's like you have read an entire library, and you already know the entire library, and you're only 6 or let's say 10 years old, and you already have all this information at your fingertip. In fact, kids right now, they will probably teach you how to cook and how to do everything, because they have tutorials, and they have like I said, whenever a generation has a certain breaking point, it will be a quantum connection between that generation. And so even if you are born 5 years ago, you now will have access to computers and everything, and it will be quite easy for you to understand all of that, compared to a 5-year-old that was born in the 19th century. Why? If 2 kids are born in the 19th century and one is right now, and you take them, no memory whatsoever, you wipe them out and you put them together in a room, I can tell you that the one from the 19th century will probably be able to handle tools and will probably be able to do a lot of things that the kid that is from this century will not probably be able to do. Why? because it is something called quantum consciousness, and it will depend upon your generation, and it is different. And this one is being studied. There are statistics that will prove you this, but it's not studied enough. But the thing is that the studies have shown that because this generation does not have this connection with life that our generations did have, their chances of committing suicide is 1 in 3 when they grow up, meaning by the time they are 20 something. That is, quite frankly, it's going to start popping out about 5 years from now. So I have a question. If you have a 1 in 3 chance of, your kid, or your family, or your niece or your friends, your friend's kid or whatever, going through this, and it's 1 in 3, then what are we going to do about it? Because, once they try to do this, the chances of them succeeding is quite high. You stopping them is quite slow. It's quite low. It's not the same. Because it involves free will, and it involves choices, and sometimes you just can't go against somebody. And the only way that you will be able to avoid this is by education. But not education in terms of you teaching people how to memorize things or stuff like that. It's about education about your emotions, and education is about the way that you can handle life. And the future seems quite bleak in this aspect. Is hopeful? Yes. Why is it hopeful? Well, because there are a lot of parents out there that are doing a lot of noise. They are talking, they are crying, they are asking for new regulations, they are telling other parents to look out. And there are some that are listening, but that is not enough. And so, question, do you just take the kids out of the cell phones? No. That, that is something that you probably want to do, and you probably will do it. But here is the deal. If you take the cell phone out of them, there was a video on a guy in the US. He took the cell phone out of the kid in the car because he was fed up with the kid. And the kid got out of the car and jumped out of the bridge that they were driving. And the kid committed suicide right there in front of him, and he could do nothing. And the kid obviously died within 3 seconds after he took the cell phone from him. So then how do you handle this? Well, I don't know, because it will depend upon what you do. But I do not recommend that you take the cell phone that fast away from them or something like that, because you might be pushing them. So this topic, you probably want to join groups of reading about how to deal with this, because if we are talking about that statistic being true, which I'm guessing it will be very true, because these people are serious. The people that do predictions like this, usually they are teachers like me, and so it's serious. It's going to be big, because if it affects one third, then it's a jump quite easy that it could be half. So if you have half of the population going through the same thing, then by that time it might be too late. However, right now we are not too late. We might be able to stop this. But how are we going to do it? I don't know, because it depends upon your situation. It depends upon where you are, who you are with, and it will depend upon how do you connect with life, because your connection to life depends upon your ancestors. It doesn't depend upon you know, a lot of other things. It will depend upon your ancestors, means your actual education. It doesn't depend upon your academic thing. It depends upon your actual education. So I don't know. I just hope that this video was helpful somehow. And if you find, these groups or support groups or whatever, you might want to, drop them in the comments so that other parents might be able to see these, or I don't know. And if you want, you can do your own research. If you're wondering where I get these things, you can, you can look them up by yourself. You can talk to teachers, and if the teacher is bleak with you, they will be able to tell you. This is stuff that we just mentioned among teachers and among other things. This is also why we're not so popular, see? But if you find this helpful, you can also share the channel, and I don't know. I just good luck, and may God bless you.